First thing on the agenda tonight is under bids, RFP 2020-32.
Mr. Chair, you want the recommendation for the SHIP program services?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion to accept the ranking with the Servium Group Incorporated.
I second it.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion?
Ms. Gatson here? Ms. Gatson? Just wanted to ask, I mean, you feel confident about this? You don't want to send it back out to quote with only having one person to throw their name in the hat? You like it, what you've gotten thus far?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Good. Any comments from the phone?
I don't think we have the call.
We have that no more?
No.
Thank you, Lord. Get on through with it then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bids, RFQ 2020-12.
Mr. Chair, once again, I'd make a motion to approve for the Hendry and Glades Community Public Transportation Management and Operations Services Contractor. The recommendation, it looked as if to go with Transitions Commute Solutions.
And I second it.
Chairman,
By Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Yes, sir,
Chairman, I need
Mr.
to
Parker.
modify staff's recommendation. It should read, authorize staff to prepare a contract with Transitions Commute Solutions, subject to county attorney approval, just modifying A there.
Absolutely.
Okay, any further discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On the consent agenda, we are pulling C2. It's going
Mr.
to
Chair,
be subject to county attorney approval.
I'd like to pull B2 as well,
B2?
the purchase of the John Deere backhoe, but a very quick discussion on that. No questioning of the purchase, just question what we're going to do with it. I did want to ask a couple questions as it relates to the other items, but I'm not going to ask. Is Mr. Dan DeLisi in the audience with us tonight? No? Amazing. He has a contract coming before us and he feels so confident that we're going to vote for him. Man, I don't know about that consultant right there. Well, then I'm not going to pull that either. I'll just aggravate Ms. Davis about that later. So I would make a motion to approve consent, pulling B2 and your request on
B2.
C2.
I accept it.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B2?
Just, Mr. Parker, we're gonna buy that John Deere. You like the warranty and everything that was given on it, but they got the write-up on whether we're gonna take it to Sureland auction or we're gonna ask the school board if they wanna buy it. Did they accept it?
We haven't got the appraisal done on it yet.
Why, I don't know if y'all agree with me, but it's one taxpayer paying another taxpayer. Do we have to do a wash or can we sell it to them for $1? What are your thoughts, Shane?
Well, Port LaBelle's an enterprise fund, and that's the school board. I would say you'd need to have some kind of monetary transaction, but I don't even know the value. It may not be nothing.
Okay. Well, just bear in mind, I mean, it's just like when we were charging the school board to be in the county courthouse. I mean, it's kind of, taking money from your brother and,
Whatever
all
the appraisal
paying.
comes out, we can make it fair and reasonable. We
Roger.
won't
Okay.
hose them or nothing.
all right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Now I make a motion to approve B2 as presented.
Second it.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
C2, I would just ask that you approve it subject to county attorney approval with some revisions that they're working on now.
Motion to approve the item agreement between Henry County and Risky Rescue LLC, subject to county attorney approval and updates.
And I second it.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is it glass? Good. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. First thing under awards and appearances tonight, we have Recycle Poly. Yes, sir. Would you come on up? If you would, sir, go right to the microphone, your name and who you're with, please, sir, for the record.
Good evening, John Skolnick from Resite Poly, CEO. Basically, we have an agreement with the county. Well, first of all, good evening, all of you. We have an agreement with the county. I believe that with the visit that we had, we've already complied with everything that was requested from us. There was one issue that was commented on the document that we received. And it's basically the net that covers the plastic doesn't reach completely to the bottom. It's about 2 or 3 feet before the bottom that will get it fixed. But we already did everything, including what we had even 6 months to do, which is the road in the frontage. And I was going to bring you pictures of before and after. But I think that it would be much better if within 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully, we will have less rain. And I'll invite all of you to come in and see what is it that we're doing. We've advanced dramatically in fixing several of the things that we have. And we expect to start operations. We already started testing, and we expect to start operations within the next 2 or 3 weeks full. And there are other projects that we're doing to hopefully get those piles of plastic processed earlier than the 5 years that we were given. Other than that,
Sounds great, Mr. Chair.
Any questions, Ms. Bird?
No, I do realize that I believe, I hadn't went back out there, but some of the commissioners said that, it was a lot better, it's a lot cleaner. So, and that's all we wanted, was to make the motion for, for them to clean up some of the areas. So thank you so much for the presentation.
well, and we appreciate it, and hopefully things will start back again.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. When it comes time, we got a couple weeks when you're ready for us, just let us know, and we can all get out and get a chance to visit the site with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing on awards and appearances is a Rural Health Day proclamation. Do we have anyone here? There you go.
Lauren asked me to come today as a representative of Hendry Regional, and Lauren to be here to accept this proclamation. So thank you for having me.
Okay. We got a proclamation. We're going to read that into the minutes. County of Hendry County, State of Florida, proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Hendry County, Florida, proclaiming November the 19th, 2020 as National Rural Health Day. Whereas rural communities in Hendry County, Florida, throughout the United States, how did we get that in there? Okay. So it's all throughout. It's just kind of read together there. United States are wonderful places to live and work. They're places where people know each other, listen and respect each other, and work together to benefit the community. And whereas rural America is an economic engine that helped the United States become the world leader it is today. Whereas rural citizens possess a selfless, creative community mind spirit, and whereas the meeting the unique health needs, those citizens is constantly evolving as rural communities face accessibility issues, a lack of health care providers, and aging populations suffering from a great number of chronic conditions, large percentages of and uninsured citizens. Whereas ambulatory and emergency medical services are especially critical in rural America, only 20% of the nation's population lives, but where the majority of trauma deaths occur. And whereas rural hospitals, in addition to being sources of innovation and resourcefulness that reach beyond geographical boundaries to deliver quality care, are also typically the economic foundation of their communities. Whereas being a rural health provider provides tremendous opportunities to offer more comprehensive, compassionate, patient-centered, and holistic care to patients, not hostilic, sorry. I had to spit that out, it kind of got tongue-tied. Whereas the Florida Rural Health and National Organization of State Rural Offices Rural Health play a distinct, I really can read. If I probably had a little bit bigger glasses, it would help, but by leading efforts to address the unique health care needs of our rural citizens. Therefore, being proclaimed by the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners that November 19th, 2020, be designated as National Rural Health Day in Hendry County, Florida, encouraging citizens to honor and rural communities as wonderful places to live and work. Further, encourage citizens to recognize the unique health care needs and opportunities that exist in those communities, and recognize Lake Okeechobee Rural Health Network and the Florida Office of Rural Health and National Organization of State Offices of Rural Health for the valuable services they provide to those in this community and other opportunities. We thank you very much for the work that you do. I've actually had the opportunity to come to Clewiston and visit the facilities over here, and everything's been really good, so we appreciate all that y'all do for our communities and our citizens.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. It's going to bring us to public hearings. Nope, no placeholder. Mr. and Ms. Coleman's request of additional state housing initiative. We got Would y'all come up, please? Again, if you would just state your name, please, ma'am, for the record, sir.
Woodland Black Coleman.
Patrick Coleman.
Thank you. Requesting an additional state housing initiative partnership with SHIP. Do we have backup on this? What do we?
Margaret, you want to give them
Commissioners, this was a request by the property owners to be on the board agenda in order to request additional SHIP funds earlier than the 5 years that are permitted per the program. And we had told them, no, they could not have the additional funds until they had gone through the 5 years that are required for their previous assistance. And but they still wanted to come to the board and ask the board to consider them getting additional assistance, even though staff's concern is that if we do this, we have we'll have other folks coming in and asking for a deviation basically from our program, but everybody has a chance to come to the board, so we told them they're welcome to present this to the board. So I'll leave it at that, and if you have any further questions from staff, we're available.
So the 5-year mandate, is that something that's, where does that come from? Can you tell us that?
For the record, Sabrina Gatson, Housing and Social Services. It is part of our LHELP, our Local Housing Assistance Plan.
Okay.
The Colemans received assistance back in 2018. Their initial bid was $33,337. We removed $3,600 off of that initial bid to get it under the LHELP maximum, which was $30,000. It brought it down to $29,737. They received the max. They received $29,737 worth of assistance on their home in 2018. At this present time, they are requesting to receive additional dollars to be able to replace 2 doors.
2 doors in a room.
And the flooring.
Yeah, in the floor.
The flooring in 1 bedroom.
for a total of $7,800, I believe it was.
Well, that was the one quote that they received from a contractor.
So where would the funds come from? Is the funds available, or will it pull off somebody else that's trying to get assistance?
It will pull off of someone else trying to get assistance because we've already allocated those funds for additional applicants. Again, the LHELP at the time that they received service, the maximum was $30,000. At this present time, they only have a balance of $263 that's available to them to meet the maximum award amount.
And they're not eligible for that for 5 years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And it's not an emergency.
It is not an emergency assistance. It's not a health and welfare assistance, no.
Do you have a recommendation?
Well, I just feel because if it's already been set in place and that the funds that's for somebody else, we're gonna take something from somebody else and it's not an emergency. And we have done things in the past, but it's because they had pipe bust up underneath the house or something like that. So I would have to support the recommendation of the SHIP program. You know, if the funds come available later, they can resubmit. Am I right?
after the 5 years.
After the 5
They
years.
have to, manage the 5 years, and then after that, the satisfaction of mortgage, and then they can reapply.
Because we taking it from someone else then if we have to do something different.
Yes, ma'am.
I recommend that we go along with the SHIP program, the decision that they made.
Second the motion from Commissioner Byrd.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Byrd, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank y'all still for coming, Mr. Coleman.
Now we're moving into public hearings, petition number RZ 20-0005.
Good evening, Commissioners. This agenda item is a request to rezone the,
Sorry.
that's the second
That's
agenda.
the second
We're on
one.
the second one,
Is
yeah.
there anything about that?
Need to go back one. We're not there yet.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. So this is a request to rezone subject property from A2, General Agriculture, to Plan Unit Development. This property was brought before you this past year under a conventional rezoning. The request was to a heavy industrial zoning district. At the board meeting, there were some questions that were and issues that were brought up by two adjacent property owners, and discussion from the board also developed into concerns about the proposed project and the potential for the uses that would be permitted under the heavy industrial land use category. So it was recommended that eventually the applicant withdrew that petition and came back under the planned unit development application, allowing for conditions of approval that would address some of the concerns that were brought up at the board meeting. I would like to highlight that the recommendations from staff and what was agreed to by the board, by the applicant at the local planning agency meeting last week was that we would limit the uses so that that all of the manufacturing, processing, or prefabrication and assembly activity would be conducted indoors, such as what's required for light industrial development. The only outdoor activity would be outdoor storage. And in this case, they're proposing two different development scenarios, referring to them as Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 is, in fact, what Commissioner Turner had mentioned, that this is going to be another location for outdoor storage of different types of vehicles and machinery for repurposing, not necessarily repair on site, but it's repurposing, selling them. So the first phase would be that outdoor storage, and the second phase would be an industrial park. So what we've done is we've recommended that, again, that all outdoor storage be fully screened. There's an extensive buffering that would occur along County Road 833 and along the south and north property lines to address compatibility. And in addition that to the buffering and the revisions to the list of uses, we've also specifically addressed that all lighting has to meet our land development code, which in common terms is basically meaning the fact that all lighting has to be shielded, downward pointed, and no spillage off-site, which was one of the issues that was brought up at the last meeting on this agenda or on this property. Also, we recommending conditions that would address any potential for industrial waste and industrial stormwater runoff. And we've also just highlighted the fact that they'll have to address the potential for impacts to panthers through their state and federal permitting. There's additional conditions that are being recommended that are detailed in the recommended ordinance that I'd be happy to go through if you would like me to. But at this point, just as a, also, I did send out an email last week with the LPA's recommendation, and their vote was again 6-0, and also based on the recommended conditions that are in the ordinance. So I'm available if you have any questions.
I'm just concerned that it don't become a sore eye. You know, we start out the right way, but it end up becoming a sore eye if they don't put the buffering that should be there.
Well, they will be required to put the buffering in. In addition, they're going to have to come in for a site development plan where we get into more detail and more of specificity. But I think at this point you can see where the buffer that is along County Road 833, they're talking about 8-foot berms and landscaping. And if you have not been out there on their properties on 835, would be a good example of the types of what the berms and what the buffering along the road will look like. And basically you can't see in the property from the County Road 835 for those other properties. So that's the expectation for this particular site as well.
The public hearing, we do have one card. Mr. Whidden, did you want to?
Is everything okay? Is everything okay? Okay.
My name's John Whidden. Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate you all. I'm a bit conflicted about being here. My conservative background dictates to me that there is such a thing as ownership rights. And at the start of all this, I did not want to step on another landowner's toes. Today at lunch, I talked to my wife about this, and she said something that stuck with me, that resonated. I'm a landowner too. I bought that land as my homestead almost 20 years ago. I've paid taxes and done my share. I bought it there because it was zoned all the way around as Ag 2. And I had the protection of that zoning. And there wasn't going to be a industrial whatever park next across the street that's going to have semis and trucks and everything coming. I could probably get by with a parking lot they're going to build. But if you open this can of worms, if you let the horse out of the barn, you ain't going to put him back in. It's going to be an industrial park across the street from me where I played by the rules, and I bought with the intention and the plan of not having to look at that eyesore. If you go out west, out east, and look at what they've done, I want to thank Mr. Perry for the time that he spent with me, and he has assured me that that will look better. But I don't know that, and I don't want that across the street from me. And I think I did due diligence getting where I'm at. If you let the genie out of the bottle, you ain't putting her back in. I implore you to vote against this. And I appreciate all your time. Thank you all.
Mr. Wooden? Commissioner, you got?
Yes, sir. So a couple things, just from a standpoint of impact on public facilities. Margaret, I saw that we waived the schools and we waived the recreation and open space aspect during the pre-app.
Yes.
Can you explain? Is that just because the theory is they'll have to come back for any development that they're actually going to move dirt on?
Well, the impacts for the phase one development, we did not see it having any impacts or demand on schools, and the same thing for recreation. But as far as the phase two goes, since we don't know how many employees that they're going to have, we don't know any real specificity on that, and we won't until the site development plan. That's the time where we would address any of the other or any public facilities impacts on based on what that development would generate.
And then I saw also in the details, there is no need right now because of the trip threshold not being tripped for a deceleration or a left turn lane. Is that?
Well, that's
is that
correct based
statement?
on, based on the current or the phase one plan, it is. But if a phase two is pursued, then that would be reassessed and likely to be required.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Emlich. Mr. Chair, I got to tell you, my county is supposed to be experiencing growth of unprecedented size. Just as a crow flies, probably 3 to 5 miles to the east of this place. But I've been put in this chair to look at things from a standpoint of taking in everybody's consideration. I too struggle with the concept of this being a property owner's rights to do what they want to do with it. But at this time, with what I see, and with what I see development moving towards in the county, especially south of my office on 835, and what those are doing, and then what they're attracting, I think that we're having a bad snowball, if you will, that's being brought into our county. At this time, I can't support this, but I look forward to having a great conversation with you all about this. If you want to know, if we have any other details or anything. Also, I haven't talked to the applicant. I haven't talked to any of their representation as it relates to this. But I'm not comfortable with what I see because I can't see more ag land being taken out to have a giant parking lot created that's going to just basically, it's not what I envisioned for this part of my county. And so I've been put in this position to make these conversations where the rubber meets the road, and that's where I feel about it. So
I'm glad to see these conversations taking place, and in a couple situations, and I can speak personally to that. Situations weren't vetted the way they are today. They weren't talked about. They were just done. And one thing does lead to another, as Mr. Tritt said. I mean, that's unfortunate. You have farmlands, and all of a sudden you have packing houses, and it goes from packing houses to industrial, and all of a sudden roads that had no intent for the traffic that's on them, they're filled with semis. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can look at this and say the same thing. So I'm kind of leaning in the same direction as you at this point. At this point right now, I can't support this in that location. I just can't.
yes, sir.
And I believe the last time it came to the board, I didn't support it simply because I'm learning that when you buy land, you buy it for a particular reason. And he bought that land to do ag on, and then to come in and bring industrial in on it. I know it's enough land in Henry County that it could go someplace else. So right now, I do not support it for that reason. I didn't support it the first time that it came to the board, so I don't support it as of right now either.
Well, this is also a public hearing of the public. If anyone in the public would like to address this at this time, if you would come forward.
Good evening. I'm Tommy Perry. I'm the representative, the applicant for the rezoning. There was a lot of care given to the application and a lot of give in the process we went through. We came back to the county and suggested the PUD process. We did that because it gave a way for the county to put a binding restriction on the property. We talked to the neighbor who was concerned about it, Mr. Whidden, met with him several times. His primary concerns were the lighting and the buffering. We've got a good, we're restricted well on the lighting. There's a requirement for a lighting plan to be given that shows what the luminaries would be throughout the site and adjacent to it. It requires down lighting. We have a strong buffer to help keep that lighting on site. The parking lot scenario that is the phase one does not have permanent lighting on it. There would be some lighting if the site was activated following a major event, storm event, but there's not lighting on a daily basis. There's the ones that are south of town, there is absolutely no lighting on site. Now, when they were using one of them following Hurricane Alvin, they did bring in some temporary lighting. It was very limited. The buffer, we put in some fairly strict requirements about how it would look on the exterior so that it stays in an attractive manner. It does require some maintenance, but all things require maintenance, including my yard. We said that it had to be higher than any interior parking space by 8 foot. And we saw that as high enough that if no matter how high they made the parking, when you looked, you'd be looking out and we're looking over the buffer, you wouldn't see a vehicle behind it. And then we also gave a minimum height for it. And we based that on what the county road is adjacent to it, so that it is always at least 8 foot higher than the county road. That way they couldn't, dig the site down and build the 8 foot buffer and you can still look down over it. We've got a strong buffering there. So we've done things to make the site work and be better. The man is purchasing the property. One of the things that attracted him to it was he saw it as an area that has it's near the juice plant. It's across from the solar plant, so it's in an area that is starting to see some industrial look to it. But at the same time, it's not a high intensity use that he's proposing today, and we've protected it. I think the adjacent landowner left my office. He'd be happiest if we said we were going away. But I don't believe he left my office spiteful to the project. Zoning's a difficult thing. I try not to pick a difficult zoning case because I live here. Trip Whidden is a friend of mine, and the people that own land around that are people we work for, and we don't want to upset them. So we try not to choose ones that are controversial. And somehow we got involved in this one that's becoming that way. And I see that as unfortunate. But I do think that it's something that's positive for the county. And it does have it definitely has a positive economic impact. I looked today, the north one that's south of here, it was purchased for $26 million. It's being assessed a little over $8 million on the 2021 trim package. That's comparable to what the Walmart here in Clewiston's being assessed. And it demands tremendously less services. The Walmart here is hard on the police office. It's hard on it generates a lot of trips, which this one won't. I believe it to be be a low-impact, high-value type development.
Okay, Mr. Perry, well, I don't think anyone here is saying we don't like the project, we're just the location, so, at this point. If you'd like to come up, yeah, just come up to the podium and.
Just for the record, my property's right here.
You need to give your name.
Yep, right.
Yes, sir.
My name's David Evans. I live on the adjacent corner of the property in question that's getting rezoned. I feel like Trip Whidden, my property's agricultural, so I kind of wanted it to stay that way. But I guess my concern is the traffic problem with, like you were mentioning earlier about the turn lane. I'm a truck driver, so I know how junkyards work. So there's a lot of trucks delivering damaged equipment in and out. So I think it would need a turn lane. So as far as the lighting goes, the just south of my property is the solar farm from Florida Power and Light. They've never fixed those lights. They're still shining out across my property. So, I mean, I know you're talking about lighting and all, but it doesn't seem like they go by the rules. So, that's my concern also. I mean, the light, it used to be dark out there, but not anymore. Those lights are pretty bright and they just put a glow in the sky all night long. So I'm kind of against that. So I don't know. I just have to put my opinion in that I'm against the rezoning at this time, So, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the public like to speak to this? Seeing the recommendation from the board?
I make a motion to not approve.
Mr. Chairman, could we ask that it be tabled where we have an opportunity to meet with the commission and talk through the project and see if there's something more we can do to help address the issues?
You know what, Mr. Chair, I will motion to table. Do I need to withdraw my motion?
Right, you didn't really.
It didn't second, so I didn't finish it, so, yeah.
Fully say it, and.
So I'll go ahead, I'll withdraw my motion, I'll make a motion to table, to have an opportunity to, visit with the client. But, I'll just make it matter of record. I still wake up at night thinking about my vote as it relates to McDaniel's Ranch. And, I sound like a raving environmentalist, and if that's what you need to label me as, so be it. But, that one stuck with me a long time. 835, just south of Jackman's Ranch, just north of, or just south of the east side of Alico, as it is adjacent to L1 Ranch or L1 Canal. I remember voting on that. It was one of the first things I voted on. It was a company out of Brazil. I can't remember the name of them. They've poured a huge chunk of concrete, and their plans were immaculate. Somebody wants to do this just south of Atio / what I still call Evercane Refinery. Knock yourself out. In Hooker's Point, we've been dealing with cane trucks and Mr. Ridgell's dump trucks driving by us my entire existence. I'm good with it. Those are industrial type areas. But right now, the way I see it is, if you live on 833 and you commute to and from work, either going to Big Cypress Reservation or going to and from Montura, or you use the back way in and out of Flaghole, or you're taking your tail out of Ladika, you've just come accustomed to certain types of traffic patterns and certain types of vehicles that are on those roads. I look at this plan, and I have enough knowledge now, after being on the planet for 44 years, to understand what follows this. That community, unfortunately, that area out there has actually seen a significant decrease in traffic, probably with the juice industry doing what it's doing. Who knows what's going to happen with Southern Gardens as that moves. But this plan to that neighborhood, and me seeing what's happening in my community, I can't support it. And I don't know if I'll support a giant parking lot at any given time, Mr. Perry. I don't know if I'll support it. I don't care how beautiful the buffering is or how wonderful the dark sky lighting is or anything along that, because I'm just, I'm getting very concerned about the holding capacity of concrete and scraping it off and taking our green spaces out. And I'm up on a soapbox right now, but it doesn't get more special than Dover Spike and those cypress heads back there as you're heading that way off of 833 going to Flaghole Road. And now we're going to put this right up next to it. And you may say, well, man, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth because you've done nothing but support the airport from A to Z. Well, the airport is a game changer for generations to come. What will come of it still remains to be seen. But, you know, I still think that we need to be smart with our clustering of where we're going to be having intense uses, and those need to be in centralized locations. And then we need to be thinking about when Carson's 75 years old, so that's 34 years from now, 31 years from now, where is our next housing development coming up? Where are we running sewer off of our main infrastructure? How are we tying that all in? And what is that looking like? So that Tripper's grandbabies, you know, they're able to look at things, or Mr. Evans's grandchildren are able to look at things and go, man, I live in a pretty strong neighborhood. I don't want to leave here because it's an industrial site, and I don't want to develop the tax base and pay for our schools and stuff like that. And I'm just afraid that we're doing things to encourage making people that have a means want to leave Hendry County and leave Glades County and not be cognizant of what we're doing. So those are my thoughts. Those are a lot of thoughts, but I look forward to talking with y'all about this in much greater detail privately. So I have a motion to table that supersedes all discussion, does it not?
Well, yeah, just to clarify, table to a date certain, in which case it will not be re-advertised, or not a date certain, in which case it will need to be re-advertised.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk with the client here, or the client's representation. Mr. Perry, you wanna go late January?
We could do that. I think we could do it in, maybe even into December. It depends on how.
We only have one meeting in December, and I'm just thinking for y'all's ability to kind of meet with everybody on what schedules would be.
We can do January.
Let's do that. We'll split the difference. We'll go first meeting in January, so it's back in Clewiston.
Okay.
I'll motion to a time certain, first meeting in January.
Let's to be clear, it'd be a continuance instead of tabling. A motion
Yes, sir.
to continue the public hearing to Tuesday, January 12th, 5 p.m. in these chambers.
Roger.
Thank you.
Second?
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Barry. All right, Myra, you can jump on to number 2 now.
This is the Black Boy Ranch.
Yes.
Sir.
This is us for them moving spoil, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to conduct a public hearing and approve the rezoning for the PUD and adopt the attached ordinance, but I'm all ears to listen to what your thoughts are.
I second it. I did review it, and there is a preference, there is a price set, so we won't, you know, my thing is that we don't open a can of worms that we can't open in the future. So I agree with it. I agree with the movement. They have a place to put it. They just need to go across the county land to do it, so.
Guess we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. This is also a hearing of the public. So is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak to this at this time? Yes, sir, if you would.
Good afternoon. Rock Abujaudi, engineer representing the applicant. I'll apologize to staff because I never do this without talking to them first. But on the way here, I spoke with Mr. David Rose, and he's having a hardship with the bond, which would calculate to about $32,000. He asked me to ask if we can phase it, and the request is if we can. I know your minimum bond request is 10,000. So if we did 50,000 cubic yard phases, we'd submit tickets. Every 50,000 cubic yards, we'd do an inspection and transfer the $10,000 bond to the next phase. Would that be reasonable?
Mr. Chair, I think it's kind of a chintzy request. It's $32,000. I don't know what the volume, it's 1,500 cubic yards?
It's 160,000 cubic yards.
160,000 cubic yards.
So if we divided it basically in thirds,
Yes. I mean,
Every third, we give you tickets and
yeah.
do an inspection and.
But Shane, I mean, the way I look at it is though, is economy falls off, they only move a third of it. We're sitting here now holding it back, staff time, so on and so forth. Whereas the impetus now is to put it out there. They're gonna move the ball down the field, so to speak. But I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna yield to you, my friend. What is your suggestion, sir?
I'm sorry, I don't normally do this.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to have the entire bond now since it's already excavated, but we have done projects in phases before. Bond can't be less than 10,000 for sure, and we'd need to do inspections on that before it rolls, the performance guarantee.
Well, I mean, I guess my question, Mr. Chair, is from a staff perspective, your ability to actually schedule that up and then make them follow through. You know, do you feel confident you can do that? And are you okay with us doing a 10, a 10, a 10, or 10, 10, 12, or?
I'm
10,
fine with the 10,000 minimum
do
bond.
the 12,000 and 10 and 10. How about that?
You just have to do one,
Okay,
and then you just, when you finish,
you hit the third.
you just roll it.
Roger.
There's
Yes,
just
sir.
one. So basically, it'd be a code enforcement issue.
Thank you very much.
Didn't want to bring that up, but to follow the PUD.
Okay.
So, but I mean, it's not like we can't stop them we can stop them from removing fill material, be in violation.
Well, the beauty of it is that they came before us and they asked for permission to move it instead of we got a huge complaint, or did we get a huge complaint, which was for the impetus for this meeting.
No, so there was no complaint. It was they're in violation of their conservation easement. So I have no problem with the 10,000 bond.
Okay.
I don't have any probably issues with this at all. I've looked over the same thing and I just don't have any problems with it. The 10,000, I'm good with that, so. Anyone else from the public?
Just to be clear, so we know if we're going this direction of 10,000. So it's capped, each phase is capped at what?
It would be a third of cubic yards moved based off of the owner's estimate.
50,000 cubic yards per phase, and then they'd have to have that inspected and then move on to the next phase.
Well, they would have we would inspect tickets. We would inspect paper that shows they've moved X number of cubic yards.
Is there a time frame?
It's going to be market driven.
Yeah, he hopes the economy keeps eating.
And the PUD is good for 5 years, so we do have some motivation to get this done based on this. What's it?
Quarterly truck tickets in there? We're getting them submitted quarterly.
I don't know what you put in there.
What did you say, Shane?
We didn't have it on this spoil pile, but we'd want the tickets submitted quarterly. That way we can just keep track of it.
Well, Mark's gonna.
We'll use other language from the past mines. Just submission of quarterly truck tickets.
Mr.
We
Chair,
have a recommendation?
it's not relevant towards this, but I would love to hear, how does this compare up to if this were across the street in Glades County? I'd love to just get a report back from y'all on what they do.
Okay, I'll be glad to send you an email with that information.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. So, help me word the motion, please.
So the, right now, am I correct, Margaret, that condition 1 basically incorporates all our standard mining conditions, right? I mean,
Yes.
we don't have a performance guarantee condition in per se in here right now. We just got a reference to our standard conditions, right? So we would say, I don't know, I think we'd struggle too much coming up with the exact condition wording, but I think for purposes of your motion, you can say that the required performance guarantee shall be $10,000 with the project being broken up into phases of no more than 50,000 cubic yards per phase to be documented
Verified
with quarterly trip tickets submitted by the permittee.
Am I allowed to say so moved and that qualifies for that?
I hope so, because I can't repeat it.
I can repeat it, but I would struggle.
Second, Ms. Burton?
A second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion on the board? Any further discussion from the public? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Petition number LDC 20-0003.
Ms. Emblidge, this is on the, parking of commercial vehicles on private property, correct?
No, this is,
I'm one ahead,
you're one ahead.
okay? Okay, yes, ma'am.
This is for the clearing.
This is the agenda item to amend section 158-6.
Allow people to, this was what we brought to you, wanting people to be able to clear land.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so the proposal is to exempt basically bona fide agricultural purposes from excavation. Just like, I'm sorry, yes, it excludes them. And then we deleted the line that says that farm buildings need a permit for building setbacks. We've removed that, and then we've just clarified further down that land clearing, except for bona fide agricultural purposes and clearing required for house pads and development through site development plans and subdivision plats. And that's saying that permits are required for land clearing except for those activities that I just went through.
Yes, ma'am. So, I would make a motion to approve, and approve the adopted attached ordinance and, allow our hearing to, proceed. And, Ms. Emblidge, just, in looking at this, it looks like y'all had a pretty good roundtable about trying to meet the merit of what the contractors are asking and what the board is wanting to see done.
We had discussions, there was a discussion at the contractor licensing board on this item, and I'll say the related item that will become before you next month, and that's the contractor licensing related to those activities.
Right.
And the contractor licensing board was supportive of what we're proposing here, and what I'll present next month. We will provide you with options to consider on the contractor licensing.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. It's also a public hearing. Anyone like to speak to this? Any further discussion on the board? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, this next agenda item is the recommendation that's in regards to parking of commercial vehicles on residentially zoned properties. And what we're recommending is some limitations on the locational aspect of the, well, let me back up just. We're recommending a new definition for commercial vehicles. The intent was to be more specific and clear on what qualifies as a commercial vehicle. And then we're recommending that one commercial vehicle as defined under the proposed definition, that one commercial vehicle be permitted per residential zone parcel of less than 2 acres, and residentially zoned parcels that are over 2 acres could have 2 vehicles. And then we go on to describe what the parking area must comply with and it must be provided. First of all, be a sufficient size for the commercial vehicle, connected to the driveway, and comprised of certain materials that could support said vehicle. And we've also proposing that Vehicles, of course, have to be wholly within the property. And I say that, kind of, that seems obvious, but we have a lot of situations where folks are overlapping into other parcels or on the road. And specifically to one of Commissioner Byrd's issues that you had, we're recommending that they cannot block the visibility triangle if you're at an intersection, so that it doesn't create a safety issue as well.
Mr. Chair, I read it. I appreciate the write-up. I got a handful of questions for you, Ms. Embledge.
Okay.
So I live in Mid-State Loop. Are you familiar with this area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I live in Mid-State Loop, just down the road in the loop there, and there is a truck parked on the easement as I enter into Mid-State Loop. Well, let's call it no man's land, because the property owner doesn't have it, but I don't think the county really maintenances that easement either, that side of that road, and that road has no curb. And then in the next house right there, there's a 1-ton F-350 service truck, and there's a F-250 quality electric utility truck with a utility body on it. That person, because they're on a quarter acre, they would be out of compliance with their not even the big semi truck that's on the easement. They would be out of compliance with their F-350 and their.
Let's see if I understand this. All right. So the tractor trailer is parked off-site.
Yep.
It's in an easement. So that's in violation.
Okay.
The two vehicles that you're referring to, the
F-350,
350
1-ton and a 3/4 ton.
And all right, let me go with the F-250. Is it still just 2 axles?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so is the other vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, they would be permitted.
Okay. Good.
Because
they're not even commercial vehicles.
Right, they're not commercial vehicles. And we've qualified that you're not a commercial vehicle, even though you're driving. Let me make sure I get the language right here. So,
if you would read that language.
Yes, because this is very important for what you're asking for. And
I have it if you want.
I do. I
Got it?
just don't know exactly where
Okay,
we
so
have
page 5 of the ordinance has the definition of commercial vehicle. It's underlined there on the left-hand side, about a third of the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see the definition there, and then it says, third line, vehicles having more than 2 axles. That's a statement. But the next sentence is, this does not include work trucks or vans with 2 axles. So, and then the next sentence about lettering or commercial images doesn't classify a vehicle as commercial. So if you're 2 axles and you may have lettering, you're not a commercial vehicle at all for purposes of our code. And therefore, there is no limit. You can have however many you can fit, right?
That's correct, because those would be considered more of a personal vehicle.
And I guess the reason why I'm asking these questions is I don't want this to look as it's an assault from the county on the working man trying to make a living, which is what's so often given to me as why code enforcement doesn't engage some of the major eyesores that are in these outlying areas that are part of my district specifically. Right. But when I see a semi trailer backed in, and then I see a semi trailer that's not hooked to anything, just the trailer aspect, and then I see a dump truck, I'm thinking, man, this isn't right. Very forgiving to the number one. No. I know the roads they weren't built to sustain that. Well, but mostly I know that the property owners adjacent to it are upset. Sure. And then you have your man that comes in with the reefer truck that parks his truck all night long next to Miss Lisa Rudd's house. And she's hot as a firecracker when she calls me up at 6:30 in the morning on the way to work and says, "What are you doing, Commissioner? I voted for you and you suck." And so I'm trying to figure out that's a definition of a commercial vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Who's going to fix that, Ms. Embledge? Who's the person that's supposed to address that issue?
If they are in the right of way, it is the sheriff's office that is the one that we call.
Okay.
But code enforcement, if they see it, if they can get out there while it's still there, they will post it
Okay.
as well.
Okay,
They'll put a sticker on it.
all right. I hate being Commissioner Code Enforcement, but I pretty much wear that moniker. So, and I think maybe in 5 times in 12 years I've called y'all, but I'm gonna start calling. I'm gonna start
Okay.
taking a picture and sending it
Okay.
because it's getting overwhelming.
Well-
But I like this a lot. I think this takes a huge step towards us having the correct tool in the toolbox to be able to address this issue.
Yes.
And I think that we're removing that concept of I'm just a working man trying to make it. No, you're actually taking it a step. You're taking advantage of. And I don't know if you're doing it. I don't know if you're an independent truck driver. And it sounds like I may be antagonistic to independent truck drivers, but that's why Mr. Cecil Holcomb bought a piece of property across from Big V and then sold it to somebody, and now they're doing it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, on Hookers Point Road, there's a commercial truck driving entity moving in that needs to be addressed. And if you just drive down Hookers Point Road and you're heading west,
No,
heading
east.
east, look north, and you can't miss it when you make the loop. But I'm excited about this. I don't know if anybody else has any other comments, but I'll make a motion to approve LDC 20-0004 regarding storing, parking commercial vehicles on residential properties. And I just want to say thank you too. I think this really hits to the heart of the intent of what we're trying to see done.
Right, and I have to thank my staff because I was trying to take it a little bit further, but I don't think it would be well received, just letting you know, because of Mid-State Loop Road. The challenges that we have with having tractor trailers and the like going on those roads is it's breaking them down.
It is.
And
Crushing culverts, it's messing up a whole
Right.
bunch of things.
right, so some of the requirements that we have in here will hopefully help because they'll have to go on the driveway, be able to be connected to the driveway, and that's how they get in and out of the property. Supposedly, okay, this is the best we can, and then so on. But some of our roads cannot handle the heavy weights, and I had done some research on that aspect of it. Can we limit or eliminate those types of trucks on some of these roads like Mid-State Loop? And it was going to take a lot for us to get there on that. But I just wanted to relay that to you, that we did spend some time looking at maybe taking this further, but I'll have to admit that my staff pulled me back and said that I think that what we've got is a good step.
I think it is as well. There's some areas, and I'll give you a good example. Glades County, we have a lot of tractor trailers that come onto Howard Slaughterhouse Cove over there. The county, we're constantly fixing that road where they're coming out of Glades County onto our roads and tearing them to pieces. So there's a lot of stuff. I'm glad to see the writing there, because we had talked about the trucks and was worried about that individual that had that, the F-350 or whatever. And I was glad to see that. I am still a little concerned. I mean, we're talking about an improved foundation. Improved foundation, are we talking about marl? Are we talking about concrete? What it just says improved foundation. So we got to tell this homeowner, if you're going to park your truck there, you got to what? What's that?
Well, we give options for what the material could be. And that's why we provided that, so that they can go from the marl to a paved or cement. I mean, there's variations, and there's the last alternative is that staff can approve an alternative as long as it's proven to meet the intent.
The only thing, the one step further I would think we should look at would be radiuses. If they're going to have a commercial vehicle in there, a 20-foot pipe's just not going to get it. That's just my opinion on that. We should look at that, because with a semi coming out of there, it's going to tear the edge of the road up.
But what I'm hearing though, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, is a semi is not allowable anywhere, right?
Oh, no, that's not true.
Not true.
A semi is allowable in a residential neighborhood.
Yes.
Park one.
You can
Okay.
have one.
You can park one, but they have to meet what we just talked about.
Okay.
And
So we're gonna get serious about saying your triangle, seeing this, that, and the other. easements covered up, we're starting to see crushing, we're gonna roll that back and we're gonna address it,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes, sir.
That was my point on there as far as the turning
Right.
radius when you come out of a driveway.
Yes, sir.
So, 'cause right now, like I said, the situation in Glades County where they're coming out of there, that road is continuously just destroyed over there.
Right.
And I think part of the purpose is that we have truckers that's in our community and no place to park them.
Right.
But the purpose is that they're on a solid foundation to give them that opportunity, because we have that problem right now in Harlem, and we have so many truckers that there's not a place to park them. So trying to get it where you got a working man, but he don't have, it's no place to park the truck until we come up with a solution that will cover everybody. So right now, I know they're trying to make a solution to help. And hopefully in the future, we will have a solution where they can just park their trucks. But we're not trying to accommodate them, but make it safe for everybody at the same
Right.
time.
So we're going to have to rely on private enterprise to come up with parking areas for trucks.
Yep.
And I will tell you that every chance we get, when we talk to somebody that's coming in for, various types of projects, asking them if they would consider, providing parking for this type of vehicle in this situation, like the ones that have come in for a towing business or the like, that might be able to have a second business. But we haven't gotten there yet, but we'll continue to push for it. And we do have one project that is out off of Davidson that is considering coming in for that very reason. So hopefully we'll get that.
This is also here in the public. Anyone in the public like to address this at this time? If not, do we have a motion?
Have a motion, yes, sir.
A second, I'm sorry, I got a little comment here. They said Mr. Harrison's out of surgery and he's doing fine. I just wanted to say that.
Very good. Very good.
Thank God.
That update is on Commissioner Harris. He had surgery today, and he is out of surgery, and he is doing well. So thank you, everyone, for all the prayers. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Staff reports. Mr. Lapp?
Make a motion to approve that agreement as presented, Mr. Lapp, for Blackboard Ranch to give them access. Correct?
Correct.
That's right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion?
Ms. Davis already has that $500 spent.
All those in favor? We'll move on off that quick. Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Lapp?
Yes, the next item is the amended escrow agreement for Liberty Shores subdivision.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended and restated escrow agreement for Liberty Shores subdivision.
And I second it.
And just to be clear,
Yes, sir.
a clarification from my staff report was they were originally asking for a 9-month extension. It's a 12-month extension. So just to be clear about that.
We're good with that though, right?
Yes.
Roger.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Parker?
Chairman, what I have for you is the new residential utility customer connections. I broke it in a tier system as discussed at the last board meeting, where half of it will take place January 1st, the remainder would come into effect July 1st, and seeking approval of the resolution for
Mr.
such.
Chair, I think you're gonna be good with that, right?
Yes, sir, I'm good with that.
Because what I heard was we need the increase,
Yes,
we're
sir.
gonna step it, we're gonna meet it, we're gonna let them kind of phase it in, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve as presented the resolution for the Port LaBelle utility system increase so that it doesn't look as if it's a one-shot 125% increase.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My item C1, I'm pulling, and we will bring it back to the December meeting.
Roger.
I do have two add-ons. I emailed last week, a transportation plan, that needs to be updated, that was in one of your emails, and we can send that to the state. Motion for that.
Need a motion?
I'm trying to find it.
Anybody?
I'm trying to find the license, no, the big state.
It was an
motion
addition,
that we
Commissioner
accept.
Byrd, that was sent to you last week.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's for the state agreement.
It's for the state transportation plan.
I motion that
It's
we
a local
accept it.
It's a
transportation plan.
Local,
Right,
yeah.
for Baker Act Transportation.
Got a motion. Got a second, Mr. Turner?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Byrd, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Second add-on was the budget amendments for the sheriff's department that were emailed to you, their year-end
So
cleanup.
moved.
A motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, does anyone in the public like to address the board? Business by district, Ms. Byrd?
Everything's fine. I needed Mr. Harrison sitting there so I can tell him I got my sidewalks over him, but I'll be able to tell him that later. Other than that, no, everything's fine. Thank you.
Mr. Turner?
An update on the flagpole. Maybe I should be the one asking for or giving the update, but do we have anything? Have you heard anything?
I spoke with Mr. Martin earlier today, and he was saying, well, Rock, you might be able to give it. There you are.
Yeah, let me ask a different question, Mr. Chair. Rock, has FDOT told us no to the middle of the road? Last I heard, they're acceptable to it.
They are amenable to it.
Okay. What are you needing from us being the community, to get this moving forward? If it's money, I got it. If it's labor, I can find it.
Get over, we'll be
If
done.
you got a drawing, that's on you. What do you need?
So, main reason for the delay, first of all, I apologize for the delay, but the main reason because I wanted the design, and I went to the same company that designed the Moorhaven site. I found them, we contacted them, and we just got information from them last Friday, as a matter of fact. And I've had some questions about it. I need to talk to Mr. Martin about it. We're gonna have to pay some money for the design, but not yet.
Okay,
Not till I get the DOT permit first, but I wanted to have a conceptual layout first,
Roger.
right? The height, the width of the foundation, the electric. I didn't have anything. So now I have something, it's conceptual, and they said they can follow through on the design for you after they get a commitment for you to purchase the pole from them. Now, I don't know if you have to go through the acquisition process, bid it out, all
You mean
that.
bid it out?
If you
I would
have-
think for this, depending on the number,
Yeah.
there's a threshold. And then obviously if we could bid out foundation, pole, flag, so on and so forth. The flag is already in possession. I think it was like $3,500, but it already exists. Henry County Fair and Livestock Show's already bought that.
To know the size of that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, so few details, and I'll be able to submit the application to DOT. But I already spoke with Mr. Musser, and he said it's general permit, it's not a big deal.
Would you be willing to shoot from the hip
Oh, no.
what the number is for the pole and or the foundation? Okay.
No, because they didn't give it to me.
Okay.
And I tried to get that, as a
Okay.
matter of fact, and the answer was depending on what you want.
Roger.
The one that they sent me is for 105 miles per hour wind load. I know we need to get it for 150.
Yeah.
So, I'm working on it. Sorry.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chair, that's all for me, boss.
I really don't have anything else to add to at this point either, so thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.